It's the one and only. It's the big homie. Your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber, Fax Kellerman, the idol of James Bond, Marquett Davon Burton, the saint and the sinner. And today we have a fine guest here. We have Mysonne. I'm going to yield the floor for the gentleman to introduce himself.
How you doing? My name is Mysonne. I am a hip hop artist and an activist. I've been a hip hop artist for over 20 years. I was signed to Def Jam Records. Then I got incarcerated in the year of 1998. There was a couple of situations that pulled me into activism, like the death of Trayvon Martin. You know, at that point, I had a 14-year-old son, and I was actually in Florida for the verdict, and seeing the man be found not guilty brought me to tears like I never had in my life.
I want to show you guys what sparked this conversation. I trust we can have this conversation like gentlemen, as the gentleman shared some of his background. I know that he's been in many environments where respect is at a premium. So I think this will be a very polite conversation. Let's go ahead and show you guys the background on how we came to have this conversation. And then we're going to go ahead and get into it. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to play you guys the clip, and then we'll read through the comment that was made. I think you actually had a few comments. I only saw the one that you, or rather, I only read the one you replied directly to me, but I'll check out the other one because I saw your name on there. But let's see if we can get this played from the beginning. In the audience, if you'd be kind enough to populate an Alpha 1 into the chat to confirm that you can hear the video as it plays. Black family. So some people say, oh, you don't understand, you're well off. I'm like, look, man, I really came from the mud. Like, I was poorer than the other poor kids because my mom was on dope when I was a young boy. My father was in prison doing 10 for selling dope. So I really come from the mud. And one of the things I have to admit is that, well, damn, if you can still afford to use drugs while you're on SNAP, maybe if they took away the SNAP, you'd use that hustle you used to purchase those drugs to cover the basics, just maybe. And if not, if you're actually in a tribe, you know, we'll be forced to take care of each other. There'll be necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention. What we need to invent is the Black family because it's currently dead. So, of course, my heart goes out to people who are struggling, but I think mostly they're not struggling as much as they think they're struggling. And SNAP has destroyed Black families. So some people say, oh, you don't understand, you're well off. I'm like, look, man, I really came from the mud. Cool. So that was the actual video. We'll discuss later what was actually said in the video because some people have erected a straw man that they're arguing against. But first, let's look at the comments that were made, particularly by the gentleman. I'll let him read his if the characters are big enough for him to see, but I'll read mine. The gentleman can read his, and then we'll go from there. Thank you for the platform, Willie D. And shout out to Willie D, by the way. I wrote, sad to see some Black folks arguing for government benefits, subsistence, instead of trying to figure out how we can really thrive. We shouldn't want SNAP. We should want wealth and power. Anyone who wants to discuss on live, DM. Okay. And you want to read that one? You able to see that?
I said the government gives more benefits to billionaires than it does poor Blacks. Most of the people on SNAP truly need it and have raised successful children who've been able to create generational wealth. Your comparison is just false. There are so many people who fell to drugs that weren't even on SNAP.
The government gave more benefits to billionaires than it does to poor Blacks. Now, right there, we agree there. Oh, absolutely. In fact, I would forward the idea that the government is a tool of the wealthy, and that's mostly what every government is. So there's that. So are we agreed that the government is a tool of the wealthy?
Yes.
All right, fair enough. All right, so we're on the same page there. So carrying on to the next point. The gentleman writes, most people on SNAP truly need it. So that's not even the whole sentence, but that's the first piece, which I actually disagree with that. And so I think we have a fundamental disagreement there. Tell me more about when you say most people on SNAP truly need it.
Well, when you talk about most people that are on SNAP, they're truly elderly. They are incapacitated, injured. They have injuries where they can't work. There are some people who just are highly uneducated and don't have the resources to actually work to where they can make a livable wage. And those are realities, right? And what happens is I come from a family like that, right? My mother wasn't able to make or ways that was able to sustain 2 children. And when she started out on welfare, she started out on SNAP on welfare, with getting benefits, was going to school at the same time, right? She was utilizing the system like most other ethnicities do. When we talk about, SNAP, we only represent 25% of the people that are on SNAP for Black people. So when we're having these conversations, I know a lot of people that I know who are successful, who parents were on welfare, right? And it motivated them to never want to be on welfare. And their parents didn't say, hey, this is a tool that you utilize, that you're supposed to be on welfare. I'm on welfare right now because I don't have the resources. I didn't get the education. I didn't have all of the access to wealth that someone else had, but I'm giving you the resources. And right now, this is what put foods on your table. So when you go to school, I need you to study harder so that you don't have to be in this position. So I think for me, when you say that it ruined the Black community, I say a lot of us were products of SNAP, and it made us want more. I know a lot of people, there are a lot of people that I know that in college who graduated top of their class, who parents came from welfare. Even if you look at athletes, most of the athletes, they'll tell you their stories where their parents didn't have anything. They started out on welfare. They had cheese sandwiches. They were on the cheese lines. They were getting the butter. They were going to free lunch, free dinner. And it motivated them to do more than their parents did. And their parents did the best they could. So when you say that it destroyed the Black community, I just don't believe that in full.
Did I say that SNAP destroyed the Black community?
Well, what exactly did you say?
SNAP is destructive to the Black family.
I'm saying, what did you say? That's not, those weren't the words.
Sure, we'll play it back. SNAP has destroyed Black families. So here's the difference. You stated that I said SNAP has destroyed the Black community.
Okay,
I said SNAP has destroyed the Black family. And those are two different things. Number one, there's no such thing as the Black community. And we can explain that another time. But the Black family, there's no doubt that SNAP has been a part of the destruction of such. When you look at the data in terms of Blacks getting greater access to SNAP benefits, we see that there has been an inverse correlation in terms of the Black man being in the household and being at the helm of the family. So it has driven more instances of illegitimate families, fatherless children, unprotected mothers. And in fact, there's a study that points out that while on SNAP benefits, a woman is less likely to actually get married. And then when that same woman gets off of SNAP benefits, the likelihood of marrying shoots up. And that's because the government has been positioned where the Black man would have been. So it's destructive. And I'll ask you this. Do you think that the short term is more important in general, or the long term is more important? Which would you say is more important?
It's always the long term.
Always the long term. We agree there. And my discussion, my ideas that I share, the system of thinking that I promote, and the revolution that I'm currently waging is for the long term. And there can be no birth without pain. Did you know there was a time when Black women had a higher marriage rate than white women? But now it's flipped around. And both are increasingly becoming single mothers. But the fact of the matter is it can be directly tied to those SNAP benefits we call them today, but before we just used to call it welfare. And that's been the destruction of the Black family.
Well, I think what we're correlating is two different things. I think the Black family, right? I think what I realized, right, that throughout history and me listening to women, just having conversations with the Black women, there was a time where there was a family unit that wasn't really secure. That woman was staying out of desperation. There was no love. There was no unity. There are Black children that were born in households. There was no love, that they didn't even see passion between parents. There are Black children that said that they wish that the parents that they had probably would have been separated, because the mother staying out of desperation because she didn't have need didn't create or foster love in a family. I think what happened now, and because I can say that accurately, because I know parents, when we were on welfare, my father didn't have a job, right? But what he did was he went to get a job to get us off of welfare. I think that any man who loves his family is not leaving his household for SNAP benefits. I know that there's this ideology and this myth that Black men left the house because you couldn't be in the household because you couldn't get the SNAP benefits. But my father would leave when the welfare person came. He would leave, put his little stuff in the corner, and when they came, he came back. And what he did was he made sure he left the house and he went and got a job until we didn't need welfare anymore. He didn't abandon his family. He didn't abandon his wife. He didn't abandon his children. And most men of honor and any level of integrity that I know didn't leave his family for SNAP benefits. There's no man who loves his family that just leaves his family for SNAP benefits. So what I think has happened is there were families that probably were broken from the beginning because there was a hierarchy. Is when you talk about that SNAP benefits broke up the home. It wasn't that SNAP benefits broke up the home. There was a level of independence that women had in toxic relationships that made them believe that I don't have to be around a man who thinks because I say something he don't likes and he hits me in the mouth that I lost the fight.
I would challenge that a number of the things you have articulated are speculative, they're anecdotal, they diverge from logic, and they're very much so what feels good, what sounds good, and what's emotional. And the reason that I say that is because you noted that Black people represent 25% of SNAP benefits recipients. And I know you said that because I wrote it down. Now, that actually doesn't make sense in as much as Black people in America, and I'm not talking about the foundational Black American, because I think that they're more so like 10%, but Black people, which would be inclusive of Haitians and all of these other groups that have a different ethnic background. But Black people represent 13%. So they're nearly twice, they're at 200% of the representation they should be at, kind of similar to prisons. And you spoke about that earlier. You know, we're 13% of the U.S. population, but a much higher percentage of the prison population. We're overrepresented. You stated that as though it was a good thing that we're 25% of the welfare benefits, as opposed to us being representative, which would be 13%. I yield the floor for a rebuttal to that.
Well, basically, if we're talking about wealth in America, we only represent 3% of the wealth in America, right? So if we look at communities where Blacks inhabit majorly, most of those are poor communities. Right. So if we're in the poorest communities, you know, then more likely we're going to need the most assistance. So the fact that we only represent 25% of it and everybody represents more than that, the whites represent about 40% of it, you know, and they represent 70% of the population, and they represent 83% of the wealth. Right. So that there's also a correlation. So what happens is when you look at the other people who are on SNAP benefits, they've utilized SNAP to their ability, right? If you look at the Jewish population, they are one of the highest, also a high population on SNAP benefits. They utilize the housing of the SNAP benefits. They utilize the housing. They figure out how do they get free housing, and they also own their own communities within the communities they live in, and they also figure out how do they benefit off it. So what I think is what we haven't learned is how to benefit off of using the state's money.
And your position can very much so be described as a liberal position. I don't suggest that to put myself on the other side as a conservative. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, a liberal or a conservative. I just follow this ism. Marquettism is for the kids. Marquettism saves lives. Now let's talk about this piece. So we agreed earlier that the government is for the rich. I think we can probably also agree that the government is, and always has been in the United States, organized for and controlled by white people. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if the government is for the rich, and you said Black people are not the rich in this country, if the government is organized for the benefit of white people, organized by white people, and Black people are in fact Black, which color-wise would be opposite of white people, then why is it that your idea is using government benefits, which is to say using the benefit from the enemy or from the person or the group that doesn't care about you? How would you think that that would benefit you? It's nonsensical. Furthermore, it suggests a level of inferiority. Not that the white man believes you're inferior, but that you believe you're inferior, such that you must rely on the government handout. Furthermore, you reference the Jews, and other groups that are utilizing the welfare benefit system. Well, obviously, mathematically, being that blacks are overrepresented at 200%, there's obviously some groups that are underrepresented. And I think that's worth considering. Furthermore, the Jews are actually categorized as white and have been for some time, especially since the data started being recorded when these public benefits were given out. Now, with regards to the black community, what they're lacking today and in times past, especially during the time of the crack epidemic, which, destroyed many of our families, mine included, is ideology. You see, the reason I say that there's no such thing as a black community is because communities have a lot of things in common, but core things. You mentioned the Jews earlier. It's a great example. They have religion. They have language. They live in proximity. They don't allow outsiders in. They have patriarchy. They have their own hospitals. They have their own policing force, and they have a strict system of belief, and they don't snitch and rat on each other. And also, they don't rely on the outsiders, the goyim. Whereas conversely, you're kind of describing all of the opposite things for black people. You're describing the idea that we should rely on the government, which has been our open enemy since we arrived here on a slave ship named Jesus. Black people, some are Muslims, some are Christians, some are atheists. They don't have a uniformity in the religion. Black people don't have their own language. Our folkways, mores, and our music and culture has been commercialized and stolen from us. And that's precisely why there has to be one system that dominates. And because black people are very effeminate as a mass, very soft and emotional, they have trouble accepting the fact that something must dominate to unify us into what would rightly be described as a community. Furthermore, you speak of the idea that blacks need welfare and they need government assistance. And if you were to only look at the 54 states of Africa, and you find every one of them is accepting foreign aid, also known as welfare and assistance, from whom? From the same group, which is to say the West, the whites, and they're all failing because government assistance is not designed to get you off of it. And even though you think it's benefiting the black people, it is actually not. It's making them weaker because, as you yourself admitted, it forced your father to have to disappear when the social worker comes up to check in, to make him have to creep around with no dignity. The truth of the matter is black people are the wealthiest group of black people, the ones in America, on the whole planet Earth. And so I assure you they can get by without those SNAP benefits, and it will open up a whole different way of living. You mentioned something about the woman being independent. I would describe it as disobedient and rebellious. The man is the leader and he is more rational, and there's data on that. And he is to lead. The idea that the black woman would use SNAP benefits to allow her to shirk her responsibilities and her duty to the black man is an abomination. And that is something that has caused a great deal of trouble. So what you're describing as a good thing is in fact a bad thing. When you look at the data, we see that those black children who grow up without their father because their mother was independent for whatever reason, they have higher levels of criminality. And you were locked up with a lot of them. They have higher levels of mental illness. They have low levels of educational attainment. And then the other thing that you mentioned that should not be mentioned at all, and it is not a factor, and that is why this ism has to spread around the whole world. You mentioned love. Love is fantastic. Marriage is not about love. Family unit is not about love. It's about pushing toward a particular set of milestones in a life well lived. Love is great. Compatibility is better. Love is great, but being able to cooperate and produce is better. How do you measure love? You can't measure it. And the worst thing about it is love is something that the women are very much so hooked on. And that's when they want to leave the relationship because I didn't feel the love. You have a duty now to be a mother. You have a duty to be a wife. And that outstrips love. I yield the floor to you.
I don't believe that showing strength or even in a relationship that compatibility, that her word should not matter in the household. I believe that I should have the final say, or we should come to agreements about how we're raising our children, how we're doing things. I think that if I'm in a relationship with a woman who respects me, that I've earned her respect, then she will yield the floor and understand that I'm the head of the household. But there are a lot of men who are not men. They are merely males, and they only have control in their homes. Right? They don't even have control in their homes. Only way they have control is because they're physically stronger than women and children. So they go into those homes and they beat and they harm women and children, and they don't produce strong men. They don't produce strong women. They don't have partners. They have people who are in fear of them. And I believe that for years, that's how a lot of when you have conversations with elder women, there are elder women who said, I wasn't in love, I wasn't in compassion, I was in fear. And I lived in this relationship out of fear. Right. So no woman or children should be in a household where they're in fear of someone who is supposed to be the head of their household. There should be a unit. So I understand what you're saying. And yes, I believe that a man should be dominant, but I believe that a man should be proven to be dominant. I think that you prove your dominance through intellect. I believe you prove your dominance through compassion, to empathy, to being able to teach, to be able to teach your children. To a woman feels like when she's around you, she's learning something, she's growing. If a woman's around you and because you are unable to teach her or able to reach her, all you can do is beat her, then you have not shown any level of any type of superiority. You are not leading a household. So when we talk about those things, and when you talk about the stats, right, and we talk about, yes, they did. The black people are the only people they took our culture from us, right? They took all the things. They took our culture. They've taken our religion. I say this all the time. Only thing that we unite in is pain and trauma. When we see another black person in pain and trauma, we all united. Prior to that, I'm black, you foundational, you this and that. We are divided. So what I'm trying to explain to you, that's why that if we're in America and all of the resources are held by the white people, right? If all of the resources are held by the white people and we're figuring out because they understand that anything that you teach us, we outlearn them, and we've done it over and over and over. I've watched, and this is why every 100 years they disenfranchise black people, because what happens is once you teach us the game, we play it better than you. So what they do
May I respond to your earlier point since you're going on to a different point now?
I'm going into what you went into 3 different points.
Carry on.
Into what you said. You was talking about how we are divided as a culture, how we don't have a culture, how we don't have religion. So I'm explaining to you what happened. So they know that we don't have religion. So what happens is now that we start to build our culture, we start to come back in congruency, we start to be united, and they see that united. This is right now, there's a reckoning. This is a reckoning for what Obama did. People say Obama, the president, didn't do anything individually for black. He didn't. What he did was inspire and motivate more black people to be professional, to be strong. They seen black people in positions of power. So black men said, I can own things. I can be the president. I can be the president of Fortune 500 company. And they began to do that. Black women did the same thing. So as they see that, now you see the reckoning to where they trying to rewrite in America. So I understand what you're saying, but I also want you to understand that this government owes black people. They pay reparations to everybody else. So if we can't give reparations, even in the form of the real reparations that we deserve, and we can't utilize the government money to be able to build and as a foundation, a lot of black, a lot of people do. I know white people who live at their parents' house, right? And they stack up their money. They say, okay, we don't have enough money right now. We're going to put our money and we live at our parents' house for 2 years. And what happens is, after those 2 or 3 years, after they lived off their parents, they go buy their homes and they create a foundation. So I think that if black people were taught that that's what we should be doing with the government's money, instead of trying to say, don't take no handout. No, everybody else is taking handouts and they're utilizing it and they're benefit from it and they're growing. So why shouldn't black people do the same thing?
One thing that I want the audience to take note of, and you as well, is that there is a red herring. You engaged in a major distraction. So the conversation that we agreed to have, and I'm happy to have this additional conversation, but the conversation we agreed to have was specifically about the clip that Willie D put out. And it was a clip with me speaking about SNAP benefits. And then from that discussion, out of nowhere, you start talking about another clip that you saw on my page with regards to a man speaking about how men and women communicate with respect and how that can or cannot turn physical. So I just want everyone to observe that that was a major distraction on that one. And
I don't think it's really a distraction. I think that you talked about the black family, right? So we're talking about the black family and you say where was the disconnect and how something broke up the black family and how SNAP benefits replaced the man. And I want you to understand that in my point of view, that I don't believe SNAP benefits.
So I didn't yield the floor, and I appreciate that. But that is to bring emotionalism and to pull on the heartstrings. It's not a logical argument, and it's not even a part of what we were discussing. You basically try to position me as someone who approves of beating women and referencing a clip that had nothing to do with the clips that we were talking about. And this is it's almost like a mudslinging tactic, honestly. But I will address it, and I will double down and stand on everything that I've said. Now, one thing I like about you, there are a number of things I like about you, but one thing I like about you is that you're against.
I actually appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And one thing that I know that you've taken a public stand against is blacks murdering blacks, black on black violence. And I agree with you there. In as much as that's the case, we all have to engage one another with respect, and especially women who would claim that they're equal, then you would be treated as an equal. If you wish to be treated as a child or be treated as one who is not as rational, as responsible as a man, then you need to completely submit and be obedient. Now, me, if I had you on one hand and my lady on the other hand, and you said, Marquett, you're this, that, and the third, cursing and being vulgar and being verbally threatening, I do my best to give you my worst straight away. There'd be no conversation. If my lady said the exact same things that you said, I wouldn't even take it seriously because she is truly a lady. She's feminine. I know she's irrational, but most importantly, she's in full submission to me. So even if she got emotional for a moment, I would forgive it because we already understand our hierarchy and that there's asymmetry and that I'm above her. So being that I view myself above her, she views me above her, I don't expect her to engage me with an equal level of rationality and of decorum. So I would not engage her physically. However, if I'm dealing with a woman who says that she's an independent woman, she says she's a strong woman, she says she's the same as a man, she's not taking my leadership, we're equal partners. Now, me personally, if I have an issue with a woman at any level, she's gone. There's no need to even play games with it. I wouldn't lift a hand to her. It's not a good use of time. I send her packing. But let's just say in the scenario of an average guy and he's dealing with a woman on an equal basis. Well, if you, Mysonne, say something that would lead you to getting your eye blacked, and the woman says the same thing, and she believes she's equal, then she should get her eye blacked. And it's that simple, unless you truly don't believe that they're equal. And there's a lot of lies about it's liberal, white woman, feminist ideology. And it's really not about being equal. What it really is about is actually matriarchy and domination. A quick question for you before I carry on. You use the term partner. This is a term that comes from the LGBTQ, the Skittle Guzzlers. Do you accept homosexuality?
Well, I don't have to accept homosexuality because I'm not a homosexual. So
I just want to figure out where you're at with it. Are you an ally? Are you against it? Or are you neutral?
I don't have anything against somebody that's homosexual. That's their way of life. It's not mine.
Against, neutral, or ally?
I'm for anyone loving who they love.
You said you're a man. I'm just asking you as a man, respectfully. I'm asking you to make it plain. You know, black folks, we say make it plain. So like, make it plain for me. You're against it, you're neutral, or you're an ally?
I am for people loving who they love.
You sound like a lawyer right now. Now, here's the thing. I'm from LA. I know you're from New York, right?
Yes, sir.
And one thing we could always respect about the two cities, I always look at us as, you know, very influential groups of black people. But we always look at you guys as blunt and straightforward. And we like to think that we're very honest, especially if you come from the lumping class or the underclass or the criminal class. Now, in my neighborhood, you ask a nigga a question, he's just going to tell you flat out. Like, I feel like you're going Jesse Jackson on me right now, bro.
No, you feel like that I'm not giving you what you want to give me.
No, you're going Jesse Jackson. I just asked you, like, you from the Bronx. I just asked you, like, are you against it? Are you neutral, or are you an ally?
Once again, I'm going to say again, you don't get to explain to me how I answer a question. You asked me a question, and I said I'm for people loving who they love.
Okay, so you're okay with a grown man loving another grown man.
Being okay with if that grown man is okay with loving that grown man, that's his decision. That's not
okay. Got you. Understood. Now, so that's why I used the term partner earlier. So this kind of ideology that you believe in and that you're sharing, this is the ideology that's extraordinarily destructive to the black family in particular, and all families in general across all of the racial categories, racial and religious. Because number one, you're talking about independent women, and then you're talking about love. Families are not about love. They're about compatibility, business, moving forward, surviving and thriving. That's what it's actually about. And then when you talk about, you ask the older women, they weren't happy, they weren't in love. That's fine. grandma had 9 kids. And it was very common that everybody's grandma and great grandma had 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids, 8 kids, 9 kids, 10 kids. Apparently, things were doing all right. You see, what you're describing is the unruly, disobedient nature of woman in general, but particularly a woman who's traumatized, particularly a woman who's unprotected. A woman should not be leading herself. And what has happened is that they've led themselves to destruction. They think that they're thinking clearly and making good decisions, and they're not. And we can see all of the outcomes as a result. And it's shown up in all of the bad things we've been seeing happen, particularly in the Black community. Now, another thing that reeks of this white woman liberal ideology, you brought up Barack Obama, who, number one, is irrelevant to the conversation. Number two, he's not done a damn thing for Black people. I find it offensive. Number three, as a foundational Black American, he's not one of us. He doesn't have the same heritage. And number four, he did more for the LGBTQ because he actually passed legislation and went to bat on their behalf. I find him to have been a stain for Black people. Oh, he's not like us. He's not like us. And many of us are lost. I am the souls of Black folks. Black people have the highest level of religiosity in this country right here. And that's because Black people are a people of spirit and rhythm. And that's all of us around the whole planet Earth. We're deeply religious, spiritual people. And if you go to the continent of Africa, for the things that you said you're okay with, the LGBTQ stuff, there's capital punishment in many places. There's a death penalty because Black people, that is against the souls of Black folks. And you're a hip hop head. You may remember the time when hip hop was Black, when hip hop was positive, when hip hop was political, and when hip hop embedded our culture. And you would hear people say things like no homo, or you finish battling somebody, especially in New York, and you would say, and I can't even say the word right now, that's all been ripped out of our culture by the liberal whites. What they did was they commercialized our culture. They put it on social media. They put it on Netflix. And then they told us who we are. Before, they used to observe us in our ghettos and then reflect our image in Hollywood. But now Hollywood tells us who we are and then we follow it. And that's how you get a Lil Nas X. And that's how you get Mysonne, the general, telling me he can't speak up straight like a man and say, I do not condone the abomination of a man laying down with another man, especially a Black man, because that reduces our population. The Black woman aborts more children than she gives birth to. Her birth rate is like 1.9. You need a birth rate of 2.1 for replacement and for growth. And we cannot have all these people, males laying with males and women laying with women and Black women abort children because we are being reduced. You talk about reparations. You say the government owes us something. Maybe they do. But one thing I can promise you is they ain't giving you a damn thing. You ain't going to get 40 acres. You ain't going to get a mule. What I'm doing is I got Burton Plantation, 62 acres. We're giving out 2 acres, $30K. It's a hell of a deal. And building a cooperative community where we have farming and all of the things that you need for your children, including homeschool. But what I'm not about to do, I'm not about to wait for a government that I already know hates me. Because goddamn it, the government hates the white man too. He ain't doing a damn thing for the middle and lower class white man. Why in the hell would he do something for me? So I tell you this, logic. I asked you, what's more important, short term or long term? You said long term. Dig this. If we believe that the Black man in America, the Black family is owed something and we want to get it, you have to get it through force, because that's how it was taken. It was taken by force. Malcolm X, one of your New York brothers, told you, you can't ask to get free, you got to take it. So if we want to be able to compete, we need population, we need education, we need religion, we need heterosexuality, we need unity, leadership, and patriarchy. The things that you're talking about, being a partner and focusing on love and not having reproduction, those are all things that destroy us. And that's what's happening right now. There will be no reparations. We have to build up our population and take the reparations by any means necessary.
So a lot of what you said I agree with, and a lot of what you said is false, in my opinion. Right? First of all, I don't have a white liberal mentality. White women, I've probably been around 1 or 2 white women my whole life. I've been around strong Black women who were probably smarter than the men that they were around. I've been around strong Black women who were smarter. My grandmother was smarter than most men I've ever seen. She was stronger than most men I've ever seen, and my grandfather was stronger than her. But he never put his hands on her. He never put his hands on her. And she talked crazy. He never put his hands on her. He was a man. He was a strong adult man, and he never felt like he had to overpower her or take or diminish her power for him to be great. I don't feel like I have to diminish any woman's power around me. I'm around strong, intelligent, beautiful, smart black women every day of my life. The most powerful black women in this country every day of my life. And I don't mind following them in certain situations. They follow me in certain situations because they know I'm strong enough to lead. And any leader is strong enough to follow. And if you think that you have to lead in every situation, then you've never really been a leader. And that is what you call a weak man's mentality. And it's a weak men mentality. It's not a white woman liberal. It's a weak men's mentality to believe that every room he's in and every time he's around a woman that he has to be in some position of power. No, I've been around women, like I said, who are stronger, who are doing more, who are more educated, who are more or more artistic, who are more theological, who lead better, who are organized better. I've been around those women in my life, so I understand what that is. So when we talk about women, I understand that from my perspective, not from the white woman's perspective. When we talk about homosexuality, I've never seen a homosexual, stop being a homosexual because I didn't like it, right? I was a 20 and 19-year-old person. My father was so homosexual that he used to beat homosexuals up. I grew up until I was a grown man. I started having conversations with homosexuals and realizing that the same way that I loved women and the same ideology, some of them was crying because they wish they weren't homosexual. Right, understanding that they believe that this is who they are. I had a different understanding. I don't have to agree with someone else's lifestyle, but I don't have to impose upon it. And because you kill and you make a law that says homosexuality is forbidden, it's not going to stop people from being homosexuals. Because you don't call a person trans, they're not going to stop being trans because you don't like it. So what you should do is build your tribe, raise your kings to be kings, teach them what manhood looks like, and raise them in your own image instead of worrying about what somebody else is doing. I don't have to kill you or impose upon your ideology or your life or your culture for me to be strong, because I'm a king in real life. So when people see me, they gravitate to me because I lead. I can go into the most dangerous communities in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Chicago, anywhere, and be treated like a man. I make people put their guns down because I move like a king, and that's what power is. So the ideology that you think that we have to impose upon people who are weaker than us, who have different ideologies than us, is not manhood at all to me. I think what's weak in our community and what women stop having respect for men is because they see men think that you got to rule because you're more physically stronger than them. Men are not all men are not mentally stronger than women. Women have dealt with more pain and been through more shit. My mother went through more shit than I've ever seen any man go through. So you're not going to tell me that men are just all the way stronger than women. That's not true. Physically, yes. And most of these weak men who don't have nothing else to provide but strength want to physically impose themselves upon women. And that's not manhood to me. So I always stand up against that. So yes, we have different ideologies. I do believe the black family should be led by men, but it has to be led by men and not males. Just your physical anatomy does not make you a man. Because you could put your hands or physically do something to me doesn't make that you're stronger than me or you have some level of hierarchy over to me. When you want to be a man, lead with your mind, right? Because if you look at the strongest people in the world, Hitler was 5'3", he led with his mind. If you look at people who had people that followed them, they led with their mind. So I understand that the strongest tool on a man is his mind, and a woman will submit to a man who has a mind. I don't have to hit a woman to make her do what I want her to do. I don't have to impose my will for my woman to do. And if you're in a relationship, and if you're in a marriage with a woman, so since you don't like the term partner, if you're in a marriage with a woman and you can't get her to submit to you because you are strong mentally and she believes in you, then you're in the wrong relationship, and you should find you another relationship. You should not stay there. You should not impose your will upon that woman. You should not threaten that woman. You should not have to do all of that shit. Your kids are supposed to follow you because they see strength in you. When you are a strong person, people see strength in you. You don't have to impose anything. And that's why we're in a system with an oligarchy and a fascist who thinks that because he imposes his will upon somebody and say, you can't be that and you can't do that and this is with this, and that's why the world is rejecting it. This ideology that you have, the world is rejected. So you can keep on going with it if you want to, but the majority of the world is rejected it. If we want to talk about building up black families, we have to build black unities in respect and in partnership. And identifying the strength in women, finding you a partner who is equally yoked with you. When you find a woman that you can look in her eyes and she sees the strength in you, you know, the movie I like 300, right? I like 300 because that man used to go to he was the king, but he looked at his wife and everybody knew who he was the strongest person there. But he looked at her and she gave him the head nod and he respected her and she respected him and she was willing to die for him. So this is what a family unit looks like to me. I don't know what y'all look. I don't want to be in no family where it's just a business and you doing what the fuck excuse my language. I apologize. You weren't supposed to coach. I apologize. And you're doing what I say because you're physically scared of me. Or I have to impose rules upon you that goes against your moral compass for you to be with me. So if that's the type of society that you think we need for black people to win, I don't want to be in that society. I want to be in society where people are here because they want to be here. I don't want you to be in my community around me out of fear. I don't want that. And the real kings and people who really led that I follow, they didn't need that. So, you know, that's what you believe is going to bring black unity back and black community back and black foundation and family back. We just have two totally different ideologies. And I respect yours, but I'm standing with mine.
Again, I want everyone to note that Mysonne again has suggested that I've promoted laying your hands on women. I've never done that my entire life. And I also, you're interrupting me at this time, sir, if I might complete a sentence. I've never done that in my entire life. I've never promoted it. I've had no experience with that. And this is how we know for sure that you're representing the white woman liberal ideology, because the main thing that you hear them talking is this, right? Because may I complete a sentence?
We said about respect, right? So stop equating me with anything that has to do with a white woman. All right. So just
it's their ideology. You see, it's their ideology.
I would take a liberal ideology, but don't equate nothing that.
No, they're the ones. We're in a matriarchy.
Once again, I've explained to you that I've never been around white women, so I don't have a white woman.
You don't have to. Even if you're around black women, even if you're around black women, you're still around liberal white woman ideology. That's what you're not catching up with. Black women today are the result of liberal.
My mother hated all.
You keep on speaking. While I'm
because what you're doing,
I didn't interrupt you like this.
You're not interrupting me.
I didn't interrupt you like this.
You're saying things that we already started.
I didn't interrupt you like this. You were positioning me as a woman beater, and I didn't even interrupt you.
You said something.
You positioned me like I'm Ike Turner, and I let you keep going.
I didn't say you. I said the ideology that I didn't say that you ever put your hands on a woman.
I never said that's my ideology. You can go to thesassin.com, THESASN.com, and click what is Marquettism, and you won't see one thing about laying a hand on a woman. So that's not my ideology.
You said that in this conversation. You just said if a woman speaking to you like a man and she feels like she's equal, then I will punch you in the face. You said I would black.
I did not say that.
You said if
you're
you
incorrect.
Said certain things,
and this is again, this is you find this with the Democrats. This is mudslinging.
You didn't say that?
This is mudslinging.
So
is what this is. This is mudslinging.
So explain to me what you said then.
So you have to calm down and remember the fact that I had the floor. So you don't interrupt me and then start asking me questions while I'm talking. So first you interrupted. You said you were clarifying something, and then you went. I've not tried to disrespect you. I've not tried to disrespect you.
That it was disrespectful.
So no, you're letting me know that you're offended by it, and that's fine. Sometimes we'll get offended. I'm offended by the fact that you are suggesting that I promote the idea of laying a hand on a woman when I've never done anything of the sort. Oppositely, I recommend people to leave the woman if it ever comes to anything like that. So yeah, I find that offensive, but not so offensive that I become emotional like a woman and then start interrupting. There have been times that you were talking and I said, may I ask you this?
Or going back to the same thing. And this is what I'm saying.
Why do you keep interrupting?
Because you're saying I'm being emotional like a woman. And I'm telling you, I'm explaining to you this. So that because we can stop the conversation. If you don't think that you can move forward without comparing me to a woman, then we can stop.
No, I'm telling you that we're all in a matriarchy right now. We're in a matriarchy, which is a female-led society. And in a female-led society, women control the culture and the ideology. And what I'm expressing to you is that I believe you are victim of that ideology and that the ideas you're sharing with me reek of that ideology. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. The male versus the female, we have a different nature. For example, Females tend to be ones who want to bring people together. They're more accepting and they're all about equality. Conversely, the quintessential male personality and psyche is more about hierarchy and inequality and establishing dominance.
Well, who said that?
This is psychology. We can read all of the basics in psychology. There are traits that are typical of the human female and the human male. For example, being neurotic. That's more of a female trait. Being dominant, that's more of a male trait. There's even a book written by a woman. And for those of you who would like to check out the book, you can find it on amazon.com/shop/The Saint and the Sinner. And it's written by a woman. And it talks about how women in corporate can fit into male culture, because male culture used to dominate in corporate, and that's changing. And when you look at HR, it's mostly women. Why? Because that's a perfect job for women, because women have different wiring than men. And just the fact that you're questioning me on the differences between the male and the female, this is gender feminist ideology suggesting that we're the same. We're not the same. Now you ask, why am I suggesting that you have feminist mentality? Is because earlier you went out of your way to describe, I know so many women are strong, and, my grandmother was stronger than so-and-so, and the guy from 300, King Leonidas, couldn't make a call without looking at his wife. And you've gone to great lengths to explain that the woman has to lead at some point. And what I'm telling you is the good news for you is that what you believe in is dominant right now. It's dominating right now throughout the Western civilization. And that is why Western civilization is in decline. So I'm going to get back to my earlier points before I was interrupted. And again, I want everyone to know, for those of you guys watching, I want you guys to know, to be honest with you, if I saw the gentleman in real life, I probably wouldn't have this conversation. I'm having this conversation where we're kind of splitting apart ideas. I have very strong disagreements. Now, if there was a revolution popped off, hell yeah, I'm gonna have to run you through with a spear. You dig? But as it stands, we just disagree and we're pulling apart our ideas. And again, I truly believe that we are in a matriarchy, and the ideas that you're sharing are liberal white woman ideas. And I'll justify it right now. And it's not to put you down. It's just to explain that that's where your ideas come from, as do the ideas of most black women. Here's the examples. Liberal white woman. If I asked a liberal white woman, now, unlike you, I've been around a lot of liberal white women. I graduated from the University of California, Berkeley. It was filled with them. They nasty too. But anyways, if you said liberal white woman, are you for Barack Obama or against Barack Obama? They'd be like, I'm for him. Okay, boom, that's liberal white woman. Liberal white woman, are you for the independent woman or are you against the independent woman? She'd be like, I'm for the independent woman. That's liberal white one. You also said live and let live with regards to the LGBTQ. I'd say liberal white woman, are you for the live and let live, or do you believe that there should be order, rules? She'd say, no, live and let live. Okay, that's liberal white woman. You also talked about female empowerment, namely the woman getting independent of the man using SNAP as instrumentality for such. Liberal white woman, do you agree that the woman should be able to get independent of the man and use SNAP benefits to get out from under him? Yes, she'd say yes. All of the things that, and then liberal white woman, do you use the term partner, or do you think that term destroys the foundations of natural relations, such as the term boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife? Do you use partner instead? She said, yes, I use partner instead. Those are all liberal white woman things that came from the liberal white woman thought factory and that are now coming out of your mouth. And one thing I know for damn sure, and I ain't even got to ask you the question to this, because I know the answer. You wouldn't have talked like this 15 years ago, 20 years ago. This is all new language. And damn sure, being a black man from the real part of New York, you wouldn't have talked like this. And for damn sure, in our culture, in black culture, before we were victim of whites tearing it out of us and forcing into us what they want us to believe, liberal whites. There's no way in hell if I said, are you against, are you neutral, or are you an ally of the Skittle Guzzlers, you would have did any tap dancing. You'd be like, bro, hell nah. Why? Because that's what your mother believed. That's what your father believed. That's what your grandparents believed. And that's what we all believe until that was torn out of us. That is not natural to the black people. That is liberal white woman ideology. And I know it because I've lived in Baltimore. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in San Francisco. I know the souls of black folks, and that is not us. That is liberal white woman written all over it. And so all the things that I named, 5 separate points that you espouse that a liberal white woman would agree with 100%, that's why I say that's where your ideology comes from. I yield the floor.
My ideology comes from lived experience. I'll be 50 years old on May 16th, right? And I've been I pretty much traveled all over the world. I've been in every scenario that you can name. I've been in prison. I've been in college. I've been in the hood. I've been in the White House. I've been in every boardroom.
Have you been in the White House?
Yeah, I've been.
Would you mind telling us about that?
Well, I didn't go to the White House. They locked me out. I was invited to the White House, but they wouldn't let me because of
I ain't even got an invite, bro. They ain't even invited me. You heard me?
Invited to the off the list because of the work that we doing in the community for anti-violence. We actually
well, you better than me because they damn sure ain't invited me. I don't think I'm gonna get an invite, but I just want to give you your respect on that because it's very prestigious. Carry on.
Yeah. So I've been pretty much around the world and I've learned, right? So when they say as a boy you think as a boy, but as a man you think as a man. So what happened for me is that I started to learn different things, right? So I grew up of, like you said, in the communities where we thought certain things, where we outcasted the gay person, we outcasted the people that weren't like us. We felt like we were dominant over women, right? And then I started to watch women make decisions that made more sense than the men that were supposed to be in control. I started to watch women actually, when we look at our communities and black men are in jail and they're leaving the women out here, the women at home taking care of the kids, and the so-called leader, because of his emotions, because somebody stepped on his shoe, was shooting a dude. And his wife said, "What are you doing? Why would you go up there and shoot him?" Right? The woman was smart enough to know that that was the dumbest thing in the world. We weren't able to do that. So I started watching women make decisions that were beneficial to the family and to the community. And I started to listen to women and started to see that my life was moving better than I was listening to overly emotional men who thought that their ego meant they had some level of power. So I understand that there was a balance, right? So I understand that I needed a woman who had the intellect and the foresight and the emotional intelligence to tell me that my ego should not supersede my intelligence. So that's what became a partner for me, because she possessed things that I needed for me to be great. And I possessed things that amplified her to grow to where she was. So it was a partnership. It was no hierarchy for me. So those are things that I learned. I also learned being around gay people. When I was so anti-gay, I never even talked to gay. When you start having conversations with gay people and start understanding that they're actually human beings. So
where were you talking to these people at?
I was in prison with gay people, right? I was in the street with gay people.
But you don't really not supposed to hang out with the punks like that. Like, where you
don't
like
have to hang with the punks, because most of the punks in jail are more thorough than the dudes that's not.
No, the punks. No, I agree with you on that one. I agree with you on that one. But what I'm asking you is like,
I'm explaining it to you. So when you're in the yard and you watch somebody come up and disrespect the punk, and the punk punch him in his face and beat him up like a man and have a conversation, you like, oh, this. And you having a conversation, you're like, yo, listen, bro, I didn't choose how I am. This is who I am. If I could like women, I would love to like women. I just don't like women. The same way that you feel about a woman, I feel about a man. And just imagine if they made a law right now that said that you can't be a heterosexual man, and every heterosexual man gonna die. It's gonna stop you from wanting to have sex with a woman? Is it going to change anything about
Are you asking me rhetorically, or would you like me to answer the question?
I want you to answer that question. And I want you to go into, I just want you to answer that question.
I will answer that question. I will go straight to jail because I was born heterosexual. Conversely, homosexuals are not born gay. But see, there's a study from the Johns Hopkins University says that there's no genetic evidence. So they're lying.
Okay, so if that's what they're lying, but I know people who have committed suicide because they was gay. So
that's because they were mentally ill.
Okay, so whatever.
They're mentally ill.
So they're born mentally, whatever it is. If you're born mentally ill, then you're born gay. If you're born mentally ill,
no, they're not born mentally ill. I didn't say that.
Okay, so what I'm trying to explain to you, this is me and you are having a conversation from a perspective that neither one of us can speak about, because neither one of us.
No, I can't speak about it because the data.
Because you're talking
data indicates that there's no genetics, meaning they weren't born that way.
They had data.
They're 3 times more likely that they were abused as a minor sexually.
They had
data. That's what the data says. Why don't you respect the data?
It's not that I don't respect the data, because I just don't all the way respect the data, because there was data that said that our brains were smaller than everybody. The data proves that, because we didn't have the largest brains on earth in Southern Africa. So, but they said the data said that we were naturally. inferior to everybody. We didn't have the intelligence. Everybody, they had data to prove it. They had data throughout for history. They had data that proved that we were 3/5 of a man. So I'm just trying to tell you,
they didn't have data to prove
there
we're
was
3/5
data.
of a man. But why defend the Skittle guzzlers? Like this is against our. This is against our population growing.
This. All I want you to understand is I'm not gay, and you're not gay.
Wait, so you've never had any sexual experience contact with a male?
Never, ever in my life. So what I'm trying to explain to you is,
okay, then why are you defending it so hard?
Because what I'm trying to explain to you is that when you are humanitarian and you understand that each human has his own individual, right? I'm standing on my individual. I want everyone to be the full version of them. And if two men love each other, that's their thing. I don't care about what that man wants to do with his penis. I love women. There's nothing that I could ever see that would make me attracted to a man ever in my life. So there's no reason.
What about, is there something that your son could see? Like your 2-year-old son could see that might influence him in an unfortunate way? You feel okay if your 2-year-old son is seeing this?
I don't feel okay. That's why I'm raising my son. I don't have a 2-year-old son. I have an 11-year-old son, a 14-year-old son,
I understand,
and a 27-year-old son. And I've raised my son as men, right? So that's not a thing that I'm worried about, because I've raised them in the tradition of manhood. And if for some reason that's not what they grow up to be, then that's what they've done. It's not my situation. I'm still a heterosexual man and gonna always be.
I'm just tripping.
So you're tripping because there's.
I'm tripping because you said you were like indifferent, but you're really an ally. Like you're a promoter of that stuff. That's crazy. Like you're going hard for them right now. Like that hurts me.
So
that hurts me.
You giving me the thing is that you had a conversation. Right. And you made all of these things and you said, you're saying this because of this, and you're doing white women. And I'm explaining to you why I don't have any white woman ideology. I'm explaining to you why I have lived life experience. Right. And when you have lived life experience and you have conversations you're around people of different ethnicities, different sexualities, and you actually listen and you learn because you're intellectual and you actually want to learn from somebody, then you learn something different. I don't have to agree with someone's lifestyle for that to be their lifestyle. And that's the conclusion I came to. I came to the conclusion that me agreeing with your lifestyle does not make it not your lifestyle. It doesn't change who you are. So that's what I came to the conclusion as. I'm a heterosexual man. I surround myself by heterosexual men. I'm in the circumference of heterosexual men. I'm raising my children in the tradition of heterosexual men. I have 3 sons, and I'm raising them to be heterosexual men. But I cannot tell somebody else what to be with their life. So when you have this conversation saying, well, you wouldn't have said this 20 or 30 years ago. No, because I didn't have the lived experience, and I was only going off somebody else. Listen. I was going off somebody else's perspective, right? And most people's perspective, and the people I was going on their perspective never left the Bronx. They never was in proximity of anybody else outside. They never even had a conversation with a gay person. So they didn't have an understanding.
That's probably better for them.
I mean, maybe it is. If that's your perspective, cool. You don't want to. Me personally, I want to learn from everything. I want to understand. I want to listen to you. I want you to give me your perspectives, because if I have your perspective, then I can give an educated prognosis of what actually I'm dealing with. If you feel like you don't want to do it, it's cool. I don't have to, but I understand the reality that we're dealing with. So what I'm saying is my ideology and the things that I believe are off my own lived experience. Nobody has ever taught me. I don't have no white woman. None of the women, no woman in my house even liked white women. My grandmother hated white women. My mother hated white women. So they didn't share the ideology of the white woman. They were anti everything. So when you come with that, it's so confusing to me, and I take it as a form of disrespect to me, because there's nothing in close proximity to me that even equates to white women liberal. There's nothing in close proximity. I've learned, right? I'm probably one of the most educated people in my family, because I've learned and I've experienced things that the average person did. And we'd have different ideologies today. Me and my brothers may have a different opinion about certain things, but my opinion is based off my own personal experience. So please stop equating any opinion that I have or thought process I have with anything that has to do with a white liberal woman. Because once again, I don't have anything to do with a white liberal woman, and it's disrespectful.
I understand why there is confusion, because what I'm saying is novel. It's an idea that very few people have heard. I say that Black women are liberal white women, and there are many other demographics that are liberal white women. And when I say this, it's the first time people have heard it, so I have to unpack it. And so I get that it's just shocking because it's the first time you've heard it. But what you describe as your education and your experience is often, it's not education, it's indoctrination. And so when you leave your community, your village, your tribe, your culture, and then sometimes you move up a little bit socioeconomically, the whites start to groom you into different ways of thinking and being, the liberal whites, because they're the ones who want to go in your midst. Conservative whites are outright racist. Many of them, they don't even want to be around you, but the liberal whites will get around you and then they'll try to turn you from a black person into a liberal white woman. And it happened without you even knowing. For example, I think it's peculiar that we have such little respect for ourselves that we think when we leave from around where we grew up, from the Bronx, from Los Angeles, from Compton, from Chicago, and we get around all these liberal white folks. Now we figured out the world. Now we can see. Now we understand. No. Now you've been exposed to great levels of filth and indecency and degeneracy. So
different cultures.
What I would like to say, as one who has been exposed to many cultures, inside, and I didn't talk while you were talking again, sir. I did not talk while you were talking, sir. I understand what you're saying, and I have the good fortune that I too have been around many cultures. I filled up 4 passport books. I've been to more countries than anyone I know, and maybe more than most of the people you know, including the politicians. And I probably know a lot of the politicians that you know. You know, I know your mayor, Bloomberg, who was mayor for some time, billionaire. I know a lot of the folks you know, ones who have run for president and failed. That's how I know they're wicked. So when we talk about going around the world and getting cultured, well, let me talk about the world. If you travel through the 54 countries of Africa, that's a hell of a lot of countries. You could fit America, the continent, North America. You could fit Europe and China in the continent of Africa. That's a lot of countries. And overwhelmingly, they say that to live that lifestyle is filthy and unacceptable. You go through the Middle East, which is rising up rapidly, UAE and Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Oman. They all agree that kind of behavior is destructive for the public morality. You go to Singapore. The architect of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, says, oh, this doesn't seem like a good idea. He's a pretty smart guy. You go to China, they have entire policies against what they call the lady boys, the effeminate males, and they try to push off the culture that has been popularized by those South Korean pop singer bands where the guys look like girls. And that all started with an Asian immigrant in America who was very wealthy and used to fund these people and make them look like females or children, young boys, because he was a pederast. Now, here's the funny thing. There's only one place you can go on the planet Earth. There's only one group of countries you can go to on the planet Earth. Where they tell you that a man laying with a man, oh, let it go. Woman laying with a woman, live and let live. That would be Western Europe, not even Eastern Europe, Western Europe, where the people are loose and slack and sick. They're perverts. That's a Western European sickness that you have caught as a Black African or as a Black human. That's not our culture. That's not the culture of the red man. That's not the culture of the Arab. That's not the culture of the Black. That's the culture of the liberal Western white person. Again, you're interrupting me. I didn't interrupt you. I did not interrupt you. This is time number 5. And I always warn the audience when that truth start getting out, that's when they start interrupting.
Because once again, you're telling me what I've been infected with.
I know what you've been infected with because what you tried to say, one second, what you tried to say is that once one gets experience and they get exposed to different peoples and different cultures, then all of a sudden they think that it's okay for a man to go up another man's backside. As long as it's not bothering anybody. And I just told you that I've been to more countries than I can name. I've lived in foreign countries. I've opened businesses in foreign countries. I have more experience than most of the politicians you probably are getting paid by. I know the world. No one can lie to me about this world. I've been through it. So with that being the case, it's not experience that opens you up to filth. Now, here's my problem with what you said earlier. This is why it's so problematic.
when you try to tell me accept what they say and accept what they do, because like they were born this way. And then I tell you, I have a master's degree from the Johns Hopkins University, which is the foremost institution in medicine and science on the whole planet Earth. And Johns Hopkins put out a study that is peer reviewed, and it points out two major findings. Number one, there is no gay gene whatsoever. So it's not genetic. They weren't born that way. And then number two, it says that the overwhelming majority of these people have been abused as minors sexually. Okay. 3 times the rate. And in addition, you had mentioned one of them offing themselves. I think it's tragic. It's utterly tragic. But the reason that they take their lives is because they're mentally unwell. The worst thing you can do with someone who is sick is pretend as though they're not sick. Then the sickness eats them till there's nothing left. So what I propose to do is stop lying to them and telling them that they're okay and that it's normal. Tell them the truth. Tell them that they're sick, and see if we can find a solution so they don't continue hurting themselves. Marquette, what's the data on that? Yet another study from Johns Hopkins. The data indicates that those who are post-op, those who say that they're transgender, born in the wrong body. I always felt this way my whole life since I was a kid, born in the wrong body. After they get the surgery to mutilate their bodies, you have a higher rate of them taking their life. Now, why do you have that? Because now they're in the correct body. The reason you have that is because in their sick mind, they thought that once they cut off their manhood, they'd feel like a woman. But there's still thousands of genes that say you are not a woman. But most importantly, there's still some trouble in their mind. There's turmoil in their mind that will not be healed by mutilating your own body. And that's why they still take themselves out. And the data indicates that it's a mental health issue. And they're not born mentally ill. Many of them, it's environment, it's reaction to trauma, inability to get over it. Okay. So that's why I address it, because it is a great sickness that is spreading through the land like a pestilence. And that's all I have to say about the Skittle Guzzlers. We don't have to get into it. I'm responding to you because you went pretty hard about them. Really, and now I just gave my response to the Skittle Guzzlers, and we don't have to talk anymore about the Skittle Guzzlers.
To you. So first of all, we never even had a conversation about trans, because I understand trans, so I can't even give you that, right? I want to ask you this. Have you ever seen a homosexual person stop being homosexual?
Yes, sir. There's a famous one. His name is Little Richard. He lived his life as a degenerate, and then he gave his life over to God. Now, mind you, I don't promote slave religion. I don't promote it at all. But he gave his life over to God, and then he explained that he knew he was wrong when he did that, and he never looked back once he stopped doing that, and that's public record. And he's a famous person that we can both use as a reference point. Do you mind if I acknowledge some of the points, some of the people who have sent in their comments or question? Arthur, he writes, Saint, he an ex-con. This liberal talking point is how he's making his money. Cut the check and he'll change the tune. May I also acknowledge Ramon? He writes, one of the most frustrating things that can occur in a debate is when you debunked someone's point, then afterwards they carry on like that point wasn't debunked already. Shout out to Alvin. He writes, peace of the saints. Any man willing to live with his hand out must have his hand cut off, so that those unfortunate to have him as their leader don't replicate such a disease. Church. Shout out to Wayne, writes, peace of the saints, tuition. May also acknowledge Roderick as well, supporting the work via PayPal. Shout out to Nicaragua, saying, writes, peace of the saints, damn good debate. Suit fresh as usual, Rizzy Rich. Shout out to Saul, supporting the work. May also acknowledge Calvin, writes, I cannot spectate this level of game for free. I must support. I admire how you make it look effortless. Peace to the saints. Yes, indeed. Shout out to James. He writes, don't believe in black unity for this reason. Every time he talks, it sounds as if a white liberal woman is talking. He will always make sure to put the black women on a pedestal. He's not too intelligent, so what he perceives as intelligent black women are most likely imbeciles.
So two things I want to say is, first of all, I didn't tell you that I believe that you should agree with anyone, right? That was never my position, because what I said was my agreement doesn't stop their reality. So I'm not telling you what to accept or not to accept, right? I'm telling people have their own ideologies and their own belief systems. And I surround myself with people who have the same belief system and ideologies that I do. Do I have conversations with other people to understand what they understand, and then try to get an understanding of their reality? Yes, I do, because I want to learn. I don't want to be ill-informed. I don't want to just take, information based off my perspective when I can't even have a perspective about something that I've never experienced. So yes, I have conversation with people. So I'm not telling you what to believe or agree with. That's the main focus that I want. Understanding that my ideology is that we are all individuals and we have a different mentality, we have a different makeup, physical, mental, emotional, like whatever you believe. If you believe that it's a mental illness that they acquired after birth, that's your perspective. But if you have conversation with most of them, that's not their perspective, right? If you believe that a person who is gay changes to be straight again, I've never seen that. You say Little Richard has done it. I've seen a lot of people.
I could play the video.
So listen, you can play the video, but I've heard men saying that they stopped being down low and still was down low. So that's just a conversation. I'm talking about in reality, I've never seen it. I've heard people say it. I've watched people go to church and say, "Oh, I'm not gay no more," and then they find out that the person was gay. So I've seen the reality change. So we can have a conversation about what somebody told you. I
don't want to talk about the Skittle Guzzlers anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm just talking about me saying to myself that understanding that the level of disgrace and humiliation that gays have gotten for years, for them to still fight for a way of life that is clearly against what most people want, and still have to live in that and live in shame for all their lives, there has to be something to that. So that I want to understand that mentality, right? So when a person tells me that they feel the same way about being gay as I feel about being heterosexual, that makes me think like, wow, if you feel that strong, then it's nothing I can do with you. I just have to respect you for being who you are and respect who I am. I just think that in this conversation, me having a conversation with your audience, I know most of them think like you, so it's cool. If we were having a conversation with my audience, then 90% of them will be saying that you're crazy. So I'm cool.
But your audience is not real black people, though. I just want that to be clear. Those are not real black people.
It's impossible for you to tell me that.
No, they're not real black people.
I'm around real black people every day
they're not
of my
real
life.
black people.
I'm around real black people every day of my life. That
real black people do not condone that at all.
It's not about. There's not about condoning anything.
That's not our culture.
See, once again, you see what I mean? You keep using the wrong words. Condoning and letting someone else live their own reality. I've never said I condone or don't condone.
You do condone it. Why won't you just be real with me, man? I mean, you just took out 20 minutes to give a Martin Luther King speech on behalf of the homosexuals, and you're talking about you're not an ally. You are an ally. That's the only thing. That's the problem today. Is like we want to talk about being men, but if you're gonna be a man, just stand on it. I'm standing on mine. I'm in the unpopular position. You're in the popular position. That's easy to stand on. I'm standing alone out here.
Well, listen, what I'm saying. It's not about standing alone. I'm just trying to tell you my position is not a popular or unpopular position.
It is popular. Homosexuality is all over TV and Netflix, and homosexuality. Barack Obama invited these people 3 times to the White House.
They represent about 3% of the population, 4% of the population. So they only
it's really 1.5%.
Okay, so whatever it is, so cool. But what I'm just trying to say that's such a minute issue. The reality, the things that I'm dealing with.
That's why I said 3 times. I don't want to talk about.
So what I'm saying, the things that I'm dealing with. No, you're the one that keeps saying that.
Once again, I literally said I don't want to talk about.
Okay, so the things that I deal with on a daily basis about stopping, violence in the black communities, and educating our kids, right? So that's what I'm trying to tell you. And the reality of the situation is that there are many different kinds of black people. We are not a monolith, and we are the most divided individuals in this world.
And we're going to be divided until a great leader forces us into oneness. And that's why Africa is weak, because it's 54 separate countries with different currencies, different languages, different tribes. The reason that Africa gets outperformed is when you look at who do they compare Africa to. I just saw a recent political commentary. They said, Africa is going to rise up and they're going to become like China and like India. I'm like, no. They're like, Africa has just as many people as China or just as many people as India. I said, here's the difference, though. Africa's 54 separate countries. China's one country under a strong man. India's one country under a man. Africa's a bunch of countries. Some of them are even run by women, like 2 of them. It's crazy. So they have to be forced together, just like the United States used to be different territories. There's a Louisiana Purchase. There's the Mexican-American War that was started by the aggressive imperialists on purpose so that they could take control. That's why the Civil War happened. Not to free enslaved black people. That's ludicrous. But rather to fuse together the country for more power. That's why Europe is the European Union. Started out as a European Economic Cooperative Community, and then they made it a stronger formation because you're stronger together. Now, once you force something together, does everyone feel like their opinion is honored? Hell nah. And that's not the truth of the world. A democracy where you think everyone gets an opinion, that's called a majority rules system. Majority rules. And it may make considerations for the minority. So the black people will yield to one dominant ideology. And the most dangerous thing is the white liberal ideology. Oh, accept everything. You know, it's okay. There's different types of families. No, there's a man leading. He's the patriarch. The woman follows. He may have one wife or more because we're black people. We're not white people. Our heritage says one wife or more. There will be no sexual deviance. The children will obey their parents. Younger sibling will obey older sibling. There will be a defined hierarchy, and things that you mentioned, which are uncommon. Domestic violence, uncommon.
That's not true.
That is true. It's statistically factual. It's uncommon. Okay, here's a test. Watch this. Everybody watch this. What is the data that supports that domestic violence is common? What's the data?
Domestic violence is probably the highest violence inside, especially in New York City right now. It is the highest.
Okay, what's the data? I'm going to look it up right now. What's the data that domestic violence is common?
It is rising.
What? You said it's common. So what's the data? Don't check right now. So don't check.
I don't know the exact number. It is the highest.
Okay, so how can you feel so confident on something that you don't know?
I don't know the exact number. Listen to me. I go to the community meetings with the police where they have the violence reports and domestic violence.
Police are only required to have a high school diploma, number one, and number two, they deal with criminals. They deal with criminals and people who are suspected of crimes all day. So if they have the data and you feel so strongly, tell me right now without looking. Look me in my eye, King. Just tell me what the data is because you felt so strongly.
I'm telling you that it's the highest.
And that's my problem with you. That's my problem. You should not feel so strongly about something you don't know.
I do know. I'm telling you.
But you just told me. I just said, what's the data?
I didn't tell you the exact number. I'm telling you that is the highest form of violence in our community right now. That's what.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's use some logic as men. As men, let us reason. Let us reason. You said it's the most common type of violence, domestic violence. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And domestic violence is a term that comes out of the matriarchy to create a different category of violence. Because let me use some logic here. This is the matriarchy. Let me uncover it for you. If I were to punch you in the face out in the public, that's called assault. Yeah. If I were to punch my wife in the face in the privacy of my own home, that should be called assault. Wow. Because it's literally the same thing. It's the exact same act. Pardon?
It's a domestic violence. It's you.
Correct. You don't have to interrupt me. I'm getting there. The reason that it's recategorized as domestic violence is because the matriarchy, it doesn't seek equality. It seeks control and dominance and to be above. So it recategorizes something that we already have laws on the books for to make it more sensitive when it happens to women. It's a bigger deal. Well, that's matriarchy because it's not about equal protection under the law. It's about additional and novel rights. Now, you're interrupting me again. Let me finish. Let me cook.
Because what you're saying is not factual, though.
No, but I only talk facts. You're the same guy that I just asked you. I just asked you to explain the study that made you feel so strongly and you couldn't reference the study.
I didn't have to tell you this. I told you that it's
because you feel strongly with no information, but I'm responding to you, but you keep interrupting me. Do you mind if I complete a sentence?
I deal with violence interruption every day.
I understand that. May I complete a sentence? I was explaining a logic to you real quick. I just want to explain this logic real quick. You said that domestic violence is the most common form of violence. And what I'm using logic while you're looking up your data, what I'm using logic to explain to you is that makes perfect sense. If that's true, you don't even have the data. But if that were true, it makes perfect sense because violence is going to occur with people that you're around. And you're going to spend the most time with people that live with you. So it doesn't mean that men are necessarily more violent toward women. It means that they spend more time with women because we're heterosexual and we live together. So it's a logical thing. But when you suggest that domestic violence is common, this is completely ludicrous idea. And that's why you didn't have the data. It's your feelings. I yield the floor.
But once again, it's not my feelings. It's that I'm in.
Well, then why don't you have the data?
Because I don't know the exact number right now.
Then why do you feel so strongly before you have the data? That's not rational.
I know this, right? 53% of Black women report experience of violence yearly. 53%. So
of violence? Of what form of violence?
Of domestic violence.
What percentage of Black men? What percentage of Black men?
None. They said Black women, roughly 40% have experienced physical over with an intimate partner. 53% are doing it yearly. Let me see. I don't know what the Black men is.
Mysonne, do you understand my point about why would you feel so strongly before you actually have the data?
Let me tell you why I feel so strongly, because I'm in meetings, right? And I do anti-violence work. So when we do anti-violence work, we have to know what violence we have to look to when we go in communities and what resources are needed for said community, right? So if we have to do violence work to do anti-gun violence, then we have to send experts and people who know how to deal with gun violence. So those are the resources we send in the communities. Right now, the biggest and growing form of violence in our communities is domestic violence. So there is an overwhelming amount of resources being sent in our communities to deal with domestic violence. That's how I know. I didn't know the exact number, but I know when we sit in the meetings and we have to talk to the government officials and they say, okay, this is the violence. You have been lowering gun violence in the communities. That's been working. Right now, the highest form of violence in our communities is domestic violence.
Is that true?
That's how I know that. I'm telling you.
Is that true?
I'm telling you what they say in our communities.
That doesn't even sound right.
Okay, well.
Because 70% of Black families don't have a man in the household. So it doesn't even sound logical.
I don't know where y'all getting that from. You're getting that from a census, right? Because you're getting a census. 70% of you saying that 70% of Black families don't have a man in the household. That's the census that goes based on what you said, SNAP. Well, most of them are not there, when they go there. So they're utilizing the system. But Black men, especially Black men, are probably the most present in their sons' lives and their families, their kids' lives than anybody else. This is a fact. This data.
No, you're misstating that. What you actually mean to state is not that Black men are more present, because statistically they're not more present, they're more absent. However, the Black men who are present tend to give greater richness and experience to their children. But frankly, I don't even think that's a major value add, to be honest with you. I think that, again, goes with the matriarchal view, which is the suggestion that men and women are the same. And because we're the same, the man needs to put in as much time with the kid as the woman does. And that's another effort of the woman to force the man into unnatural behaviors and allow her to step out of the maternal role and step into the man's role so that she can go to work and she can have her job and she can go out and be unruly and promiscuous. That's what that is.
Well, I don't agree with that. And usually domestic violence comes when we're in a recession, and when, just like during COVID, it was one of the highest violence was domestic violence.
Why do you think that
everybody was in the house?
Because everyone was in the house.
Exactly.
Thank you. Exactly.
So, and most likely when the economy is bad.
And why are you arguing against something that is just the most obvious, basic thing? It's like you put people together for long amounts of time, trapped inside. They're going to disagree. And in the case of the Black woman, she has a foul mouth. And the Black male is effeminate and emotional. So you put together a weak emotional male and a foul-mouthed harlot, you're going to have violence. So the solution is not following after your white buddies and the Democrats that are running New York and try to we need to stop violence. No, what you need to do is establish order. Make the men actually be men. I agree with you on the part of them being males. Make them actually be men. Okay. And then make the women behave like females and watch their mouth. Now, another thing that you had mentioned earlier that I thought was curious, you had mentioned parents. And parents are hugely important, but somehow there's a disconnect between the idea that families are breaking apart, meaning the concept of the parent does not exist very much when you have SNAP benefits and welfare, because that deconstructs the family. Most of the things you've suggested haven't made logical sense, because you say the government's our enemy, but you want to rely on the government. You say that Black people can be so productive, yet they're not taking advantage of them using SNAP benefits and welfare at 200%. And what I'm telling you is that we do need to clean up the Black people, but it's going to come from us. And it has to be an authentic ideology from us, not what has been given to us. And you're plugged in with the government, and I understand and I respect that. But we can look at the data, and the data shows us that the greater the government benefits have been, the worse outcomes have been for the Black people. So your solution has been underway since the 1960s, and it's failed.
Well, I'm not. My solution was never that we should depend on the government. You're
talking about reparations.
Well, we deserve reparations. I didn't say that we should stop working until we get reparations. Yes, we definitely deserve reparations.
Wow.
That's not even a conversation. If you don't believe that if you don't believe that the people who are chattel slavery deserve reparations for built in America,
have you studied history? Have you studied history?
Yes.
You know, history is the record of warfare of one civilization invading and dominating another civilization. And what we can certainly agree on is there are some civilizations that are more vicious and barbaric, namely the European civilizations. Okay. In fact, you might not even use the word civilization, but all the same, when you find one collective destroys another collective, like say what the Romans did to Carthage, there's almost never a case where they turn around and say, oh, we're sorry, we want to fix everything. Now, you don't have to interrupt me. You don't have to interrupt me. But the point is that there have been small instances where there has been reparations paid, and I'll make some notes of them. The Japanese, there's a very small portion of Japanese, nowhere numerically comparable to the large population of the Black American. So that's number one. Then number two, you had the Jewish population has been very well compensated. Again, numerically a smaller population, but most importantly, they're a white population. So you got to factor that in. They're actually a part of the tribe that's compensating them. Then there's a third situation where there's reparations, which is the Native Americans. They were nearly eradicated. Their population is so damn low that I didn't meet my first Native American in America until I was 25 in northern Michigan. So the thing that you have to focus on is the truth is, the Black people are the most hated. They have no friends in general. Black people don't even like Black people, but certainly the idea that the white ruling class is going to give you, the sons of slaves, the children of slaves, is going to give you anything back. If you believe that, you're completely deluded. They didn't even give you 40 acres and a mule. And here's the thing, that was enshrined in law. And in some cases they did give it, and then they stole the land back as a point of fact. So the idea that you have to go with your hand out, I think is pathetic. If you look at certain wars, like maybe the Crusades, for example, or even you look at the Moors that have taken the Black Moors, took over Southern Europe. Did the Europeans say, hey, give us reparations? They said, no, we're going to rebuild and we're going to go to war with you and we're going to expel you and we're going to take control and we're going to dominate you. We're going to steal your history and in some cases erase your history. But we don't need a handout. We're going to take ours back. And I'll give you one last example. You mentioned Adolf Hitler earlier, and like strangely, you were saying that, you know, he ruled with his mind. You also forgot that he ruled with blitzkrieg and a tremendous amount of violence that the world had never seen before. But factor that in. And what I want you to understand about the Germans is when they were destroyed in World War I at a level, and they were facing huge levels of inflation and poverty and shame, just like the Black people, poverty, shame. They said, you know what? I tell you what. We don't need anything from you people. We're going to rebuild because we believe in ourselves and we're going to make you respect us. And if you don't want to respect us, we're going to take our respect. I would never identify with you or the community you're talking about because my community, the Black people I lead, the good people I lead of all races, we're a strong people. We're a capable people. We're a proud people. And if we're owed something, we're going to take it. You heard me? If we're owed respect, we're going to take it. If we're owed money, we're going to take it. As men, we won't be begging. And I can assure you, there's no ear to your begging.
Well, it's not about begging. It's about reparations owed for harm done.
If you're not begging, then take it. Why don't you have it then? If you're not begging, why don't you have it?
We live on land. We in enemy's territory, and we've been indoctrinated into the enemy's territory.
We have been indoctrinated? You.
It's not we. It's not me. So what happened? So why haven't the people like you who haven't been taking it back? Because there's a bunch of y'all. I always have these conversations.
Right as we speak, I'm on 62 acres of land.
I always have these conversations, and I know a bunch of people that got land, and they got about 20 or 30 of them. But I'm talking about the collective of Black. It's 48 million people, Black people inside of America. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about when you can galvanize half of them or 2/3 of them.
Only need 5%.
Okay, if you can galvanize 5% of them, we've been having this conversation with people saying we don't need this from the government. And all the time, None of those people who have said it have done anything to do it. And when they do
no,
it,
that's not true. You ever heard of the Nation of Islam? You ever heard of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Yes.
They did great things. They had farmland. They had stores. In fact, New York was a major epicenter for this thing. And they did extremely well. But I tell you, when they got poisoned when Malcolm X became you. When Malcolm X started espousing the views of the white liberal, and he betrayed his own people because he left the core of what black folks are. That's when the movement fell apart, when we were infiltrated.
Well, I'm just
so you lie, and you suggest that we have never been able to separate from the government and thrive. The Nation of Islam separated from the government and thrived very well.
I love the Nation of Islam. I've been raised underneath the honorable minister, so I know what's going on within the nation.
But if you were raised under the brother minister Louis Farrakhan, you would know that the Skittle guzzling is a vile abomination, and you wouldn't tap dance when I ask you, are you indifferent, against it, or an ally? So the brother minister Louis Farrakhan would condemn something like that. Am I wrong?
You're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong. I've heard it myself in Mosque Mariam in Chicago.
What I'm explaining to you is that I've sat in hundreds of the ministers speaking, and the last time the minister spoke about the homosexuality, he made it clear that he has nothing against him. He understands him. He got him in his family. He's saying that we just live a different way, and we understand. We're not anti them. We're not trying to kill them. We're not doing all that.
I'm not trying to do that either. That's crazy.
So that's what I'm trying
to
tell you.
That's mentally ill as well.
So when you're having this conversation saying he despised, that's none of that language that you're using does the minister use.
Can you tell me like what I should search to find such a video? Because I don't believe that.
Okay, so you look. All you got to do is look for it. He spoke on it. It's online.
Okay, I'm just gonna do a simple YouTube search, and I want everyone to watch this so no one thinks I'm trying to like cook the results or anything like that. So I'm just going to type in Minister Farrakhan, and I'm going to just type in the word homosexuality, and then I'm going to click the share screen. Okay, so here we go. And so all I typed in was Minister Farrakhan homosexuality.
Those are old, and once again, I told you.
Okay, I'm just explaining to everyone what I did, so it doesn't seem as though I'm trying to like create a particular perspective. So I'm going to do two things, if you don't mind. He's old right here, and he's young right here. So I'm just going to click this one, and we'll listen, and then I'll click this one. So here's a young Minister Farrakhan, and here's an old Minister Farrakhan. Do you mind if we just listen to each of them briefly?
Okay.
Okay. Very good. And in the audience, if you can confirm, were you able to hear him?
By nature is inclined to.
Can you hear him?
Yes, I am fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure that the volume's good. Okay, fantastic.
Man by nature is inclined to and leans toward the female. And the female by nature leans toward the male. Now we want to know whence came this deviation.
Hello.
Listen very carefully.
I'm listening.
The Bible says he changed the truth of God into a lie. And when you pervert the truth of God and make it a lie, then what follows from that is a system of perversion, a system of deviation. We didn't learn this freakish behavior in Africa. You cannot find brothers in Africa walking around with broken wrists.
I said that earlier.
You don't find women in Africa running with women. We learned that behavior.
From who?
In our sojourn in America.
That part.
So since we learned this behavior, we can unlearn.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut that because I think we get the gist of that one. And I'm, as promised, I'm gonna go back. So that was young Farrakhan. Here's old Farrakhan. So I'm just got that right there, and it says the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on Black homosexuality. And then I'm just gonna click play here.
But the love of the same sex for one another that's rooted in righteousness is wonderful. But when we take it to the extreme, which Satan has caused us to do now, we have gone to the extreme under the tutelage of a real satanic mind.
Okay. So I'm now going to stop that one because we've heard enough, and I'm just going to repeat for everybody who didn't get it. When he was young, he said, "This is not of us. This is wicked." And then I just play one when he's clearly old. He says, if you do that, you're under a satanic mind.
That's not what he said at first. So you ignored what he said? So you ignored what he said at the beginning?
What? What?
You ignored what he said, bro. See, this one.
Hold on. Wait.
I'm just asking you, did you ignore?
Did you understand what he was saying? He said the natural love that we have for the same gender in a righteous way, meaning like I have love for you as my fellow man. No. He says that is appropriate, but when you take it beyond that, meaning inappropriate, homosexual, now you have a satanic mind. That's what he said.
No, sir.
Wow. I want you to explain briefly, and I'm gonna replay it, and then you can re-explain it. Just tell
I've been there. I've been in the mosque, bro. You can't tell me.
I've been in the mosque.
I've been in these recent conversations. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the recent conversations that he has had.
No. Tell me what he just said just now, because I was listening. I'm gonna play it again, because like you're playing games. Like that's crazy.
He's saying that he understands that that's their reality. It's rooted in righteousness.
No, use the words he used and then explain it to me.
Let me play the one that I know.
No, don't play the one you know. We had the brother on screen. I'm asking you, explain based on what he just said. Why are you running? Wait, my son, like we just played the brother Minister Louis Farrakhan in his own words. Why are you running? I'm just saying, why not just explain to me what he just said? Because I got great English language comprehension. What are you doing? We didn't agree to that. Like, why are you?
No, because you're pulling up something that doesn't go.
Wait, hold on. You said I'm pulling up something. I literally just typed in the query in front of everyone's eyes.
Is sin according to the standard of God.
People are saying that you're lying on the minister right now.
I'm not lying on the minister.
Well, then why can't we look at what he just said? Why do you have to go like search out something like he just spoke up?
Brother, I'm just trying to tell you this, man, that what the minister has said.
You don't have to tell me that. We just played his face. I'm saying, tell me the minister said this, and these words mean X, Y, and Z. So I'm saying, like, quote him and then explain to me, because I understand English is my first language, and I'm very good with it. I'm telling you, so how did I miss this?
Okay, what I'm explaining to you is that the minister has said this is not our way of life, and we believe that it's against the will of God. But he is not against you, and you are his brother, and you are his sister. And that's what he said. And that is exactly what I was explaining to you. My way of life and your way of life is not the way I live. The way I live is not something that I live for me. But I'm not against you as my brother or sister, and I do not have anything against you because you live outside of the way that I live. And that's what he has said. The same thing that I said.
If that's what he was saying, why did you feel the need to not analyze the video that I just played of him speaking out of his own mouth?
Because I've heard the words that he spoke out of his mouth, and I was trying to let you hear the words that I've heard, so we don't have a miscommunication.
We were just playing his words, so we don't need to go based on your memory. We don't have to go based on my memory.
Brother, you played 30 seconds of a 10-minute conversation, and you said that's all you need to hear.
We can go back and play more of it, because I can assure you I already know how it goes.
Okay.
Because the brother minister Louis Farrakhan has never once said that being a homosexual is okay. He in fact just stated that it's satanic. And we honestly don't even have to be on this topic, because I said six times.
I said that he said it was okay. I said
six times.
I never said it was okay.
You have represented that it's okay. No, yes, you have. You certainly have. And in fact, we're only talking about skittle guzzling because you have persisted in the conversation.
Keep bringing that up. I'm not insisting on it. You keep bringing it up.
I said 6 times. We don't have to talk about it. And right after I said that,
bring it up? So how did this come up?
Because when I stated this, I remember it like it was yesterday. You had said something on homosexuality. Then I replied to it. And at the end of my response, I specifically said, I don't even care about. Why are you interrupting me?
Because you're making up stories. You got on here and said, how do you feel about homosexuality? What do you think this, that, and I explained to you my position, and you stayed on it. I never brought up homosexuality.
Okay.
There's no need for me to bring that up at all.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that we have an understanding here. So you're saying your position on homosexuality is the same as the brother minister Louis Farrakhan. Is that what you're saying?
My position on the homosexuality is that it's not my way of life, but I don't have anything against someone else that does their own way of life.
Okay, you said you have nothing against them. Would you describe their behavior as satanic?
No, I'm not religious. I don't have.
Okay, so I'm just asking you. Would you describe it as satanic? So you can say yes or no.
I don't have a religion.
Okay, cool. All right. Would you describe their behavior as unnatural?
It's a difference than mine. So if we look at calling to,
you can say yes or no. Just a yes or no would be cool.
It's different than mine.
Yes or no would be fine.
It's different.
And you keep telling me that you're a man, but you can't say yes or no. That's not manly. A man can be black and white. Women live in the gray area.
I don't have to demonize somebody.
They live in the gray area.
It's not a gray area. It's different than mine. I don't have to demonize somebody because they have a different ideology than me. I don't have to do that. I don't have to demonize an individual because we have completely different ideologies. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that.
The problem that we have with our political class is that to get their money from the lobbyists, the people who control them, to get the money from the interest groups, they have to tap dance. They have to lie. They can't say what they really believe. It's easier to be popular.
I don't have any political affiliation.
Okay, I hear you. It's easier to be popular when you go with the flow, when you go with what's common. It's easy to be popular when you never stand up against anything. It's so easy to say.
I stand up against a lot.
You don't have to interrupt me. It's so easy to say. It's so easy to say, oh yeah, like, you know, I don't judge. That's what the broads like to say. Oh, I don't judge. I'm not judging. Well, they say that because they don't want to be judged, and the reason they don't want to be judged is because they're engaging in filthy behaviors.
There you go again.
So the fact of the matter is that it's upon the man to establish the standard. It's upon the man to identify right and wrong. It's not upon the man to deal in the gray area and say, oh, it's, you know, I'm not here to judge. I don't do that, but it's okay. And then you tried to throw that on the Mr. Louis Farrakhan, and he's never said that. He said it's satanic, and he also said it's unnatural. We just heard him say it out of his mouth. But conversely, we've not heard him say anything good about it, and we've not heard him say that he condones it.
But he doesn't demonize. He says, I don't demonize you, and I still love you.
He said that it's satanic and unnatural.
I don't demonize you, and I still.
I just played a clip, and he said it's satanic and unnatural.
Did you listen to the full clip, bro?
I just heard him say it's satanic and unnatural.
Okay.
So for you being a person who's not a gay ally, you sure as hell can't just accept where we're at with it and move on. You're really bent. You're bent on the idea that Minister Farrakhan did not condemn them. You're really bent on pushing that.
I'm not bent on anything.
You are bent on that. And here's the crazier thing. This is why that Barack Obama stuff, that liberal white woman ideology, I know has got hold of you, because you have not been so passionate about discussing the black issues as much as the LGBTQ. And that's the same thing we dealt with Barack Obama. Barack Obama was all about the LGBTQ, and he ain't do nothing for black people.
But you're the only one that keep bringing that up.
No, that's you.
When you go back in this conversation, you started off with, what do you think about gays? Then you said the Minister Farrakhan would be answered. We was talking about who built something in America. And you start talking about the Minister Farrakhan, and you said the Minister Farrakhan will be completely against it. You did that. That was your state. I didn't bring up gays. Once again, you brought up gays. You
did bring up gay language, and that started the conversation. You were saying partner, and that's gay language, my boy. That's gay language.
Who said that? The word
you said partner. You started that way earlier.
Started in the gay. What are you talking about?
Yes. Let me educate you. You asked me a question. I'm gonna answer your question. I'm gonna answer your question. You asked me a question. Let me answer it. You said partner started with the gays, and my answer is yes. And here's how. The gays have made every effort to remove gender from relationships. Instead of saying boyfriend or girlfriend, because these people are non-binary, they can't look below the belt and figure out what they are. They have to introduce gender-neutral terms in gender-neutral bathrooms. So you're not a boyfriend. You're interrupting again. May I answer? May I respond? You asked me a question. May I respond? May I respond? May I respond? And when the truth comes out, they always. So what they do is they use the term partner to remove gender from terms like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife. Partner is 100% an LGBTQ term that they've pushed out to the masses, just like non-binary. And why do you keep interrupting? Why do you keep having to interrupt? You feel so strongly. You're so emotional about this, but you keep interrupting. You're so emotional about it.
As a girl.
1 second. You're so emotional. You keep interrupting. You're so emotional. You keep interrupting.
I'm asking a question. What if you don't want to?
But you don't have to interrupt to ask the question.
or you're a grown man as a boyfriend, and you don't have a wife or a husband, what would you call that person? What would be a good?
I'll give you an example. A lot of guys, especially in the South, you say my old lady, you say my woman. It's been going on for hundreds of years. Okay. The fact that you're playing dumb is very embarrassing because people are watching you and they're like, why is he pretending?
I don't like to use the term woman.
Why is he pretending as though he can't call a woman a woman? You just said using the term woman is a ghetto term. Did you just say that?
No, that's not a professional term. This is my woman.
It is your woman.
That's some ghetto shit.
That's not ghetto. Woman is a word in formal English. It's not slang. This is my woman. That's not ghetto at all.
That's slang.
No, that's actually not slang. And furthermore, girlfriend is not slang. You can say girlfriend. We've been using that for a long time. You can say it's my wife. You can say it's my old lady.
Any individual. We were talking about.
So you're trying to justify something that is unjustifiable. Partner came from the LGBTQ. That's full stop. That's a fact.
Okay.
That's a fact. There's no negotiating. It's a fact.
I've never had any conversation inside the LGBTQ area.
I agree with you. I totally believe you. I totally believe you. But that's my point. You're so brainwashed by the liberal white woman that you're speaking like her, and you don't know where the words came from. It's just like when white people start trying to talk in slang, and they don't know, like, oh, this word came from Louisiana. Oh, this word came from the Yay area in San Francisco. But they're trying to talk like us, but they don't fully understand the origins because it's not their culture. Similar with you. You're a black man from New York talking like a white woman from Orange County, and you don't realize that word came from the San Francisco LGBTQ mafia. That's what happened.
You're a black man.
I'm the black man.
You keep trying to sound tough or sound strong.
I'm not trying to sound tough because we're not in person. Like I would never try to sound tough. I think you're plenty tough. I don't need to sound tough to you. Like between the two of us, I think we all agree you're tougher. You're tougher. That's what I'm saying. You got that. So why are we trying to sound tough? What are you talking about?
I don't know why you're trying to be aggressive or trying to diminish something.
No, we're not being aggressive. I just don't condone your ideology.
But it's not about ideology. I don't have an ideology, and you keep trying to put an ideology on me. And once again,
you said you don't have an ideology. You just don't know what it is.
Okay,
you don't know what it is.
All I'm gonna say is this: we leaving this conversation alone. You have your old lady. You have all that. I was talking about just in general. Two people have a partnership. Now that was my ideology. If that's your ideology is different, cool. I don't have any white woman ideology. I utilize the word partnership because to me, it's two people that come together and they form a union.
That's not where you got that from.
Well, you can't tell me where I got something from.
No, I know. I can tell you.
You just met me today. What are you talking about?
Oh, you're the one who invented the term partner to describe your spouse? You invented that? You invented that.
Partner been around spouses before. You think that you're the first?
No, that's a new thing. When people used to say, "Oh, my partner," they were referring to their business partner. That's how I know you're lying. Because it was commonly used as a term for business partner. It's only recently been used to describe your spouse. So you're lying.
It's not true.
No, that's a fact.
No, it's only recently been used to you in that term. That's what you were introduced to it. So don't tell me what I learned.
Well, then you tell me, where did you learn that from? Like, how did you invent that?
Because at this point, we're going around in a circle talking about the same stuff.
Real quick though, how did you invent the term partner to describe your spouse?
Anything. I utilized the term because it was more comfortable for me because I thought I wanted a partnership rather than saying my woman. To me, sounded ghetto, and saying my girlfriend when I'm a grown man is not my girlfriend. And if you're not my wife, then there's no need to say my wife. So the word partner was talking about two people that are in a relationship that you don't actually identify as a girlfriend or a marriage. Is a partnership. It's two people that come together to form a partnership. That was my ideology. Whatever you got or where you got it from, that's on you. I no longer want to talk about this. So let's end this because it's been 2 hours and I got things to do. And I appreciate the dialogue.
Absolutely. But thanks for coming on. Until next time. And shout out to Mysonne for being willing to come on and have the conversation. Very few are, and I think that his perspective is not uncommon. So it is really good to see the two ways of thinking measured up against one another. I think that's highly valuable. Okay. I just want to show you guys something real quick, if you don't mind. Actually, I'll show you guys after I respond to these questions, comments. So let's see. May I acknowledge, shout out to Gary supporting the work. Use the Stripe link in the description of the video. Appreciate you, as did Anthony. Shout out to the real ones. May I also acknowledge Quadre supporting using the Stripe link. And if you didn't support this one, you're wild, because this is really good information and dialogue. Shout out to Charlie Sardi, writes peace to the saints, came in via Venmo. Charlie been rocking with me a long time. It's love. Another Charlie came in right after, came in by Venmo, writes support. And also acknowledge Mr. Bex. He writes, I can't watch right now, but cook him, Saint. And you know what? It wasn't even really, my goal wasn't to cook him. My goal was really just have a conversation. But you know, there are certain things that I just fundamentally know are very dangerous to all of humankind. He writes, how'd he go from snap to letting women lead to accepting Skittle guzzlers? He's certainly a liberal white woman, sentimentally speaking. Shout out to Reginald. He writes, barbecue chicken. He is so infected, he knows not how ill he is. Indeed. Marquettism wakes minds. Marquettism saves lives. Marquettism is for the kids. Peace of saints. Literally, you know, you teach the kids this kind of filth, they're not going to grow up the correct way. Shout out to Reginald. He writes, this brother, he writes, the brother minister has been a liberal white woman ever since the nation merged with Scientology. Talk about it. I actually did a video on that some time ago. I wrote, did the LGBTQ popularize the term partner to describe a spouse? The answer is yes. You don't even need to read beyond that. The answer is yes. There's done reading, but let's keep going. The LGBTQ community played a significant role in popularizing the use of the term partner to describe a spouse or long-term romantic companion. You don't even need to read beyond that. So the answer is yes, which means Marquette was factual and correct yet again. And one thing you guys will notice consistently is that I only come with facts, data, statistics, studies, logic. And if you ever would see that I'm wrong or inaccurate, I'll apologize immediately. I'm not going to wait till the next stream to apologize. I'll apologize right then and there. But the truth of the matter is, I don't formulate my opinions and then go look for the data. I formulate my opinions based on the data, based on the logic. And, you know, unfortunately, that's not how most human beings are doing it. May I acknowledge Ray? He writes, I've always had a level of respect for Mysonne. That was hard to watch. And why did he keep trying to push you supporting abuse of women after you said you clearly don't support it? Yeah, that's it. I damn near like one like that. Who hired, bruh? I was like, you heard me? Like, it's like they're trying to demonize me so that I don't rise up. You know, that's something that's like straight out of the devil's playbook. As I remind you guys, the greatest tool of the devil is deceit. Shout out to Joseph, writes, tuition, peace of the saints came in by Venmo. Appreciate you. Respect. Book. You know, this is why I always remind that I don't identify with folks just because they're black. I identify with folks based on their values. Do you have good values? Because I can tell you, I don't identify with Barack Obama. I don't identify with Mysonne's values. I don't identify with Lil Nas X. I identify with the good peoples of the earth, be they Arab, Indian, white, Latino, European, what have you. And it's on the basis of good values, because we are actually in a battle of good and evil, of truth and lies, and it is a cultural war. And those who would tell you that they don't represent any ideology or anything like that, nah, they absolutely do. And it's in that position that they are being deceitful. Because here's the thing, if you don't represent any position, if I argue against sexual deviance, you wouldn't defend it. You just like, you just kick back like, bro, what that got to do with me? But if you defend it, you've exposed your ideology and your position. What can you do, man? Shout out to Lord Geotron supporting using the Stripe link. Appreciate you. May I also acknowledge Matthew. Shout out to Matthew. Matthew's a real one. Been with me a long time. Good brother. Shout out to the young boss who is getting a bread right. Love to see it. So one thing I want, and I didn't even get to all of my points, but one thing that you'll notice, and these are the kind of things I describe in the Master Communicator course. You can find it at school.com/Marquette, SKOOL.com. In that course, I have 2 separate lessons that talk about debate tactics. Not only is it going to make you more effective as a speaker, and in the case of those 2 lessons, a debater, it'll also improve your ability to see what the other person is doing tactically and strategically and be able to call it out. And that's why at the very beginning, I introduced the gambit, the purpose of our discussion, the motivating force. And I said, hey, he
commented on my clip with Willie D, and he disagreed. And this is what I said in the clip, and this is what he said in response. Let's have a discussion about this. Soon as we start having the discussion, and then I start using facts, logic, and statistics, he immediately says, "You beat women. You believe in beating women." I'm like, "Yo, what the heck? What are you talking about? Where'd you get that?" "Oh, I saw another clip on your page." It's like, bruh, come on, man. Come on, man. Like, that clip is not even the basis of our current discussion, but this is the kind of things you see on CNN. It's the gotcha moments, trying to set people up. And so what I did was the wise thing of calling it out so everyone could see, like, hey, we're supposed to be talking about SNAP benefits. Out of nowhere, he's talking about woman beating. Now, mind you, here's the kicker. I never hit a broad in my whole life. I don't have no cases for domestic violence. I don't have any woman that could show up and say I DV'd her. So why are we even talking about this? It's strategy. And it's something that you see with the liberal white woman, with the devils. What do? Hashtag me too. Throw dirt on your name. Try to take down a great man. Come on now. Come on now. And they do it to the ones who are really for us. Dr. Bill Cosby. Oh, imagine 40-year-old crimes with no evidence. Just a bunch of liberal white women. Come on now. May I acknowledge Albatar? He writes via PayPal, peace of the saints, late attendance, tuition, assassin or nothing. And it really got to be like that. There's a point in which he says you're getting tough. Like, absolutely not. I'm not trying to get tough at all. I just vehemently disagree with your perspective. And everything I said now, I'll say to his face, just like I'd say to anyone's face. And I'll stand on it too, at all cost, at any cost. It's not a matter of being tough. It's just a matter of I truly believe in what I'm saying and what I'm doing. And where some people say like, oh, I'll die for it. I'll kill for it. I prefer to kill. But I'll kill and I'll die for it. And it's not about being tough. It's about I truly believe that the thing you're promoting to children is evil, you know, and the fact that you let it exist is the promotion of it. You see, because in upright societies, there are certain things that we don't condone. Like you guys may have seen my clip on, there's a fan channel called Marquett for Women. Check it out. Subscribe. It's good. They do good work over there. And on that channel, I was having a conversation with a couple, a liberal white couple. So there's a liberal white woman, which is the devil on earth. And during the conversation, her husband, I asked, she had said like, oh, I can't take my top off in public. In my head, I was thinking, why would you want to do such a thing? That's an indecent thing. And then her husband says, no, don't do that. And then I told her, I was like, yeah, let's both take our shirts off. Immediately, boom, whips them out. Now, I'm a heterosexual man. And they also looked quite nice. I'm not gonna lie to you. They looked quite nice, but it's indecent and it's inappropriate. So in a society that I would run, in a culture that I condone, I tell her, ma'am, please cover up your chest. There's children out here. There's decent people out here. There's married men and women out here. Cover yourself up. You see, we have to establish a standard. According to the gentleman who just got off the call, according to his ideology, he's saying, oh, well, you're not hurting anyone, or, hey, I wouldn't do it, but if you want to do it, have at it. No, that's dangerous, because the idea of I wouldn't do it, but you can do it. No, you're spreading corruption among the youth. What if a little girl's walking by and she sees that and she thinks, oh, I can do that. That's okay. Not realizing that that kind of exposure will draw in attention that you don't want, that can be dangerous. So we, in fact, are at war, and we have to be proactive. The problem with good people is that good people, now, we're not the loud ones. We're not the unruly ones. We're not the ones who do the marches and the protests and we interrupt. But hey, here's the kicker. We better start. You can't watch the world burn down. You better start doing something. And that's why I've organized this movement, THESASN.com. Click join. We had new member orientation today. We have a real community on the ground. We get together for health, wealth, relationships. We teach good values. We get together for exercise, social events, and all kinds of things. I'm going to be hosting some saints actually here at Burton Plantation in a week and a half. Shout out to Eric. He writes, peace of the saints. I don't surround myself with people who support sexual deviance. I forget these people even exist. Me too. I'm shocked when they look like me. That's crazy. It's fascinating to see these alleged heterosexual males defend homosexuality so strongly. We have to give the devil their due. Their propaganda is effective. Oh, yes, absolutely. Like the fact that he thought that he like created the term partner. Like he just started using that on his own because it makes sense. He tried like nah, bruh. That was wild to me. And that's when you know that propaganda, high quality. Ladies and saints, I'll give you a little bit of time. If you want to send in any final comments, questions, ties, or tuition, you can do so. You know, I find it funny that when I pulled up the clips of the Honorable Louis Minister Farrakhan, all of a sudden he didn't want to look at the clip. He didn't want to entertain it or discuss it. And that really hurt me to see that, you know, there's something driving him that wasn't the truth. But that's the world that we're in, you know, and sadly, until we deal with that mentality, we will all suffer. Our women will be lost because they have voices of men telling them that they're actually on track and they're doing the right thing, when in actual fact, they're doing quite the opposite. And again, I want to thank you to all of those of you who are members of this thing of ours. I want to thank you to those who share the videos. You always like the videos. And most importantly, those of you who follow on kick.com/Marquett Davon. I want to thank those of you who follow the fan channel, Marquett for Women, and just all of you guys who are really about this thing. It means a lot to me. You are appreciated. Shout out to the Lady Saints. Shout out to Darylyn. She writes, "Peace of the Saints. To go against the assassin is to go against humanity." Talk about it. Shout out to Darylyn. She's always supporting. Shout out to all the women who watch and understand my message and our work. You guys are really core, because when we have people try to lie on me or lie on our culture, you guys will be our greatest example. Strong, honorable, honest, straightforward women, and also the great families that we will build. Ladies and saints, it's been truly a pleasure. Let us end this with our tradition, the Creed of the Assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The Creed of the Assassin. I am going to be who I truly am, because I am remarkable. And I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am.